And welcome everyone to Nerd TV for another full throttle sim racing Mach-1 Performance Cup Series race for the season finale of the 2023 B season. This time coming at you night racing style from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, where we're going to go 80 laps tonight for the Daytona 200 here. Weather, not going to play any factor. A little bit of wind coming from the east side, southeast side there, about 9 to 11 mile an hour wind gusts, 72 degrees, and only 40% humidity, which I can tell you live in Florida, that is not realistic. Not realistic even by a little bit. But cloudy, so there's that over a nighttime sky, so I don't think it's going to play any factor tonight. My name is Jeremy Stanley, aka J Stan or J Swifty, depending on where you find me on the social. And then to my right hand side, Mr. Jason Rockefeller. How's it going tonight?
I'm doing fine, man. This is a race I've been looking forward to all week for sure. It all comes down to this, just like it came down to it last week on Wednesday for the Martin Sports Truck Series. It's the same exact scenario here tonight for these Mach-1 Performance Cup Series, guys. Lots of these guys have experience from Wednesday night last week for a chaotic Daytona race there at the end, but fairly clean most of the time. Couple incidents here and there. Probably going to be the same way tonight, but regardless, it's going to be a great race.
Yeah, I'm always looking forward to it, as long as you don't have any Ryan. If your name is Ryan, then you might have a bad time here tonight. And there's
Don't
Ryan
mention that to me.
Chapman. I don't want to curse the amount of top tens he has, but if your name's Ryan Blaney or Ryan Priest, it's a bad time here at Daytona. So hopefully it doesn't happen for anybody out here. Those are two hard crashes, but it's gonna be great though. It's gonna be a lot of 2x2x2. You're gonna see maybe a couple 3 wide moments, but these cars right now drive really realistic to what we see in the real world, and it's gonna be a thing. But Dustin, we got him on the right hand side of Mr. Jason. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm ready to watch some freaking Daytona racing. That's what I'm ready to do.
Very good, man. I'm glad you're here to watch it. It's gonna be a lot of fun for you. We put you through the ringer last what was it, last Monday when they were at Watkins Glen, right?
Yeah. Last Monday at Watkins Glen. It was last Tuesday. Last Tuesday at Watkins Glen. It was a tough one, man. There's like 5 laps solid of just craziness all over the place, and it was definitely interesting. We'll use that terminology to commentate and produce at the same time, but should be a good fun one here. I mean, it's pack racing. You guys know me well enough to know that Daytona, Talladega, even IRSS. I mean, probably some of my favorite places to run. I like the idea of the closeness, how close everything is. I mean, you have to be spot on 100% of the time. One little slip up is going to cause the big one, and that's what's at the back of everybody's mind, is that big one.
Yeah, I mean it's a little easier to avoid because these guys do a lot of 2x2 in the next gen. But yeah, definitely you still want to give your space. If you're you don't want to be a Christopher Bell and bump draft in turn 4 especially. Right in the, I don't care how squared up you're with these bumpers, there is a 90% chance you are turning around. And I just wanted to do a quick mention too. I know trading paints have been in the news this week on the social medias. And so if you don't see some of the paint skins out there tonight from your favorite driver that you're currently watching, they might not load because we're not trying to run that software because if it's, what's going on with it behind the scenes. So if it gets repaired real quick, but just give a fair warning for you guys tonight.
But listen, I mean, regardless, skins or no skins, as you call them, paint schemes to me. Paint schemes to me. But we're gonna see a lot of 2x2s, Jeremy. Like you said, obviously this package isn't updated to what the most recent Super Speedway package has really been put into. I mean, on Saturday night, you saw a lot of guys go 2x2x2, but then about to the first third of the race, you kind of saw a lot of guys start to go 3 wide. Guys start to venture up to the top side. I promise you, you are not going to see that here tonight. And if you do see 3 wide racing, boy, you better buckle up at home, and you better buckle up if you're in the cockpit at home. If your drivers like Colby Mice, Chad Lang, Daniel Simmons, just to name a few, because this is a very tight racetrack compared to Talladega Super Speedway. You're going over 200 miles an hour, but you're doing it at a way more tight radius in the corners rather than Daytona, or not Daytona, but Talladega.
100% here is winding down to qualifying. Dustin, before we let you go, What's your predictions out here? Who's going to be your top three?
Oh, top three is going to be a tough one. I'm feeling pretty good. I know that Malikian has had a lot of good runs. As long as he can stay out of it, he's always a good one. Chandler's always a strong one as well. Richie Coy is not here tonight. Had a passing in the family, so they've got stuff that's going on. So he will not be in attendance. So thoughts and prayers, condolences to the Coy family. Um, but I have to throw Tony Solari out there. I mean, he's known for his road racing, his dirt racing, and his plate racing as well. And the man always figures out how it's going on. And like I said, Chapman, the guy's had the longest one of the longest top 10 streaks going on. I think he could get it done today too.
That's solid picks here, but we're gonna take our time rather to get our faces off your guys' screen. We're gonna go qualifying here, and I think one of my top three picks this evening is gonna be this number 25, Stephen Hollingsworth, fastest in practice. Right now in qualifying, it doesn't look like he knows what he wants to do on the track. He keeps going in and out of his car, but I think that 25 car, keep your eye on him tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the 25 machine has been very strong so far. As of recent here, a lot of guys have kind of had that moment, as of recent too. The 25 just per se is one of them for sure. And even this guy that we're riding on board with right now, Jeff Chandler, unfortunately going to fall a little bit short to Richie Coy for the Season B championship, but he could try to go after this here tonight for sure. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jeff Chandler just can so happen to try his best to get up towards the front. You see him utilizing that apron, something that these guys were allowed to do by FTSR standards here at Daytona back last week and this week as well. But one driver I want to point out for Jeremy here, I think that's going to be really good tonight, and he's going to be really hard to beat, is TJ Bartel. He was up at the front pretty much all night on Wednesday night and came home with the victory. And not to mention that coming into tonight's race, he is just 2 points behind James Wallace for the cutoff right now. So Wallace holds the last playoff spot in 16th over TJ. So look for TJ Bartel to maybe try to do something here tonight as well.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Some of these guys are battling in a really tight scenario for the points, trying to get in, trying to not get out, really. So it's Daytona, though. It's so unpredictable. You can have the Dale Jarrett effect where you just kind of ride in the back all race long and then find yourself up toward the front later in the evening. But, of course, only time will tell and see who does and who doesn't do that. But, times are looking pretty sporty right now, or they did in practice, rather. Qualifying right now, Chris Beck looks to have just a much more dominant car early on here. 14 guys have posted times. And Chris Beck's got a whole 1/10 of a second over second place Brody Hand at the moment.
To remember, Jeremy, when these guys went to Talladega just a handful of months ago, Chris Beck and Chad Lang were very good. Chad Lang actually ended up winning at Talladega. So look for those 44 and 4 cars to be very strong tonight, possibly, in the draft and, making moves possibly. Chad Lang is definitely a driver who can probably pull something off tonight. He's currently 6th up on the board, so I look for him to probably do something tonight as well.
I believe it, yeah. I think they can try to secure a top 5, top 10 finish with how well they've been performing at these super speedways here. They're still looking at the 75 Bartel, now switching over to that 25 there, Mr. Hollingsworth. Right now he's got his one-time posted of 49.5. And actually, that was his second lap, so he'll be 2 and done. A much slower pace than he put down in practice.
Yeah, well, some guys too, Jeremy, they have that setup. When you come to tracks like Daytona, Talladega, and obviously the new Atlanta, you either sacrifice speed in the race to get a good qualifying time, because the way that these cars are nowadays, it's hard to get up towards the front, from the back of the pack to the front. It's kind of like everybody calls it a crapshoot. Everybody wants to say, oh, anybody can win here at these tracks. Yeah, anybody can win here. But think about if there's no cautions. What if there is no cautions? Then you're going to be struggling to try to pass because you're 2 by 2 by 2. So some guys, they sacrifice that race speed for qualifying speed. But some guys also, probably like Stephen Hollingsworth, sacrifice the qualifying speed for the race pace.
Yeah, 100% there. And it is time now. We're going to go trackside here and go over the starting order for tonight's Daytona 200. Chris Beck takes the starting lineup here. P1, P2, that's 75 at TJ Bartel. Third place, row 2, is going to be Brody Hanna. And Wayne Grossi in the 7 is going to be on his outside in 4th. Jeff Chandler is going to be starting in 5th place, with Ben Tracy in the 63 will be starting in 6th. 7th place, you'll find the number 4, teammate of the 44, Chris Beck. He'll be starting in 7th. And Jamie Knopp is going to be to his outside, starting in P8. 9th place will be the 57 of Joshua Johnson, and the 10th place starter, 33, Sherwood Williford.
And you go all the way down to your top 20, starting 11th, Colby Mice there, the number 9, Exalta Ford Mustang. Starting 12th tonight, the number 11, Menards Ford Mustang of Tony Solari there in 12th. 13th, you have the 22, Robert Milliken in the Martin Sports 22 machine. Then you have 14th, Kyle Milliken in the Martini Ford Mustang. 15th, you have Stephen Hollingsworth, who we were just talking about there, the Folgers colors. Then 16th, Lane Allen, his usual Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats Chevy Camaro. 16th, Lane Allen in the, 17th there. That's Daniel Simmons in the 06 machine. 18th, Ryan Chapman trying to continue that top 10 streak alive. 19th, James Wallace currently holding that last spot in the playoff grid so far. And rounding out the top 20, Brian Dublé in the 37.
21st, you're going to find 47 of Ryan Hedrick. 22nd will be James Torrey. 23rd place will be Brandon Elder. To his outside, and 24th is the number 2 of Alan Duranco. 25th, Colton Gum. 26th, Stephen Lewis. In the 27th place car in this field tonight, the number 41 of Alan Crowell, which I am surprised a lot of those guys did not qualify, which, well, I kind of take that back. It is Daytona. There's either guys who want to start up front, or there's guys who want to start in the rear. And I had an interesting thing that came up in the Denny Hamlin podcast, the weekly one there, Actions Instrumental. He was saying before the next gen, the place you do not want to be, the place that had the most average wrecks, was around 7th or 8th place. With these next gen cars, it is like top 5. So we'll see if that plays any factor of real life stats versus the sim racing. But top 5 is not the place to be. That's why we probably saw 17th through 27th not electing to qualify tonight.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge possibility, Jeremy. And even on Wednesday night with the Truck Series, obviously iRacing, only can be so much of a simulation towards what you see in the real world. But even on Wednesday for the Martin Sports Truck Series, what was that first big wreck we really saw off turn number 4? It started from second place Brandon Gang, and jumping up in front of Brody Hanna created a massive multi-car pileup out of turn 4 just a little bit into the race here. That very well could happen tonight. If there's a 3 keys to the race you're going to have, patience, calm, and being cool here probably once you get going here tonight.
I was almost identically told compared to last night's race, or Saturday night rather, with the Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell wreck. But hopefully we don't see that here tonight. Nice little digger camera there between turn 4 and the start finish line. Love that camera angle. We're about ready to go green flag. And here it is, green flag for the Daytona 200 is underway. The 27, or at least a couple cars did not have a good start back there anyways. But the 44, Chris Beck, gets a great leap here. But having a great restart means nothing, because the cars right behind you are going to gather you up real quick to head off into turn number 1 and 2, Jason.
Getting up through the gears all the way to 5th gear as they reach out to turn number 2, down the long Daytona super stretch. TJ Bartel
have a lot of momentum early on here, but the numbers game seems to be at the bottom. There's only 7 cars right now, or 8 cars rather, on the top, and everybody else seems to be forming on the bottom. Now's the time to figure out who is going to be the best pusher for your lane and take advantage of that and get yourself to the front. But right now, that 40 or the 75 Bartel, just great launch off the tri-oval entering turn number 1. Got a great shove by Wayne Grossi. Gets him over a car length advantage here. So 8 cars versus everybody else does not seem to be a problem for the top.
what, right now, we talked about just earlier on before we went green about the battle between TJ Bartell and James Wallace for that final transfer spot in 16. If TJ Bartell gets points here and James Wallace doesn't here, at the end of this stage coming up on, I believe, lap 25, yes, 25 will be the stage ending yellow, then that 75 is ultimately going to be out in front in the points here for the 16th position. So if that 67 wants to try to keep that 75 behind him, he has to make his way up towards the front. And also, I just really don't understand why, if you're James Wallace, why you let the 75 qualify and you didn't, because now the 67 has to come all the way from the back to the front.
Couple of different strategy calls. You have that stage break coming, right? So, like, you can try a couple of different things. Feel out the front, feel out the back, feel out where exactly your team car is going to work best. But clear as day in our camera angles that the top lane is definitely the preferred groove. So, if there's a car in the back right now, if they can get some side draft, maybe pull themselves up, get themselves close to the top 10 and compete up front, because right now that seems to be a pretty good spot, considering a lot of these guys are giving each other a lot of respect, as we've come to know at FTSR. They love to not, run the side draft door to door real close for the first half or so of these races. And right now you can see the huge gap between these guys.
It's really just, wanting to be patient, like I talked about right before we went green too, and that's something that we saw in that very first stage on Wednesday night. Lots of guys giving each other room. They kind of got racy towards the end of the stage. And then Robert Milikian was able to beat, I believe it was Brody Hanna, or maybe somebody else there for that stage victory. And that very well could be the same way here, but both lanes are pretty even right now. Usually you see that outside lane off the corners kind of get the advantage due to being up on that higher banking from this 31 degrees as they wrap around 1 and 2. But that bottom side has been pretty strong. I don't know if it's just because they have a little bit more cars lined up on their line, or maybe it's just because that inside line just seems to be the more dominant one here tonight.
Yeah, it was not doing so well up until this lap on lap number 5 here. The 44 Chris Beck got the lap there, so that's actually your first lead change, because the 75 of Bartell led since leading the field to the end of lap number 1. So the inside lane now all of a sudden has a 4-car single file stretch here on the inside, and then everybody else is still 2x2 behind them. So kind of surprised to see this pack kind of fall back. I wonder if they ran just a little too close and they had to cool off their engines, and that's why they lost the momentum.
Definitely possible, but I mean, really, it's just because that inside lane is just so strong here. Now the question is going to be is, as this inside lane gets further and further out ahead of that outside lane, Jeremy, who's going to be the first one to try to get out of line and wanting to get that clean air, have that, that temperature of the engine cool down a little bit. But besides that, get out front. There you go, right up at the front. Here's your first example. Brody Hanna jumped out of line, and in fact, he's going to go right to the race lead here as they hit the start-finish line this time by that. Oh, no, one car out of line. That looked to be that number 82, or that's Ben Tracy in the 63 Sunoco machine. Got way out of shape there going through the tri-oval. Shades of Chase Elliott off turn number 4 just on Saturday night with AJ Allmendinger, and almost caused a massive wreck. And there is a massive gap between that second car on the outside line of TJ Bartell and others behind him as well.
And the teammates got involved. They actually had something a little bit worse than that. The 37 Bartell, the 37 gets the most out of that one. Now, there's a little bit of a domino stack up there on the exit of the tri-oval, and it sent the 37 deep into the infield there between the start-finish line and turn number 1. He's going to lose the draft on that one. And a couple others, like the 47, 67, they made contact with one another. So quite a few cars. You see all the damage there on the nose of the 37. We're going to kick it over to the Nerd TV replay to catch a glimpse of this. And we'll get the film here real shortly here. Kicking it over this time. There's 37 in real time here. We'll see if we can get that replay coming up here shortly.
Interesting there. Just heading into the tri-oval, you saw what was that 63 of Ben Tracy just get very, very out of shape and really shuffled up that field. And ultimately, Brian Dublé had to cut through the infield grass. And this is part of it right here off the corner. Bam! Right after the tri-oval. saw a couple guys up in front of him kind of get stacked up, checking up, and then unfortunately the 37 Brian Dublé just nowhere to go. I mean, Jeremy, what else do you expect from the 37 in Dublé? You can only check up so quickly here at these tracks.
Yeah, there was just a stab of the brake there, and you don't expect that on tri-oval exit. I know the car went three wide. I think you said it was the 63 of Ben Tracy, which was fine and all, but they just had a massive checkup, and there it is on slow motion, just nowhere to really go, and smashes the 47. That's Ryan Hedrick. Got his bumper, but that's the rear bumper. Not really, affected by that. But the 37 with all that nose damage, that's going to play a part to his aerodynamics here this evening.
For sure, no doubt about it, Jeremy. And he's going to be hoping for a caution pretty shortly here so he can get all that damage fixed for sure. But back up at the front, Brody Hanna has continuously led this race ever since that little incident, him pulling out a line out of turn number 4. Everybody is back to the way they were running. Couple little shakeups here and there. Lane Allen is up to 6th. He's up 10 spots. And Kyle Milliken there in the Martini and Rossi Ford Mustang. He's driven all the way up from 12 spots prior to 2nd. Now he jumps down to the bottom with Brody Hanna. So does Brody Hanna's teammate Tony Solari. Lane Allen trying to decide which lane he wants to go to, while Brody Hanna is under fire from Milliken here off 4.
Milliken can just drive wherever he wants on this track, and it's going to work for him. Gets to the line this time, drag race, and there it is. 14th to 1st in 10 laps for that 42. That's really impressive stuff. These guys have to take note of that because right now that 42 seems to be the car you want to be with early on.
Number 2, right when I joined here on Nerditudes for Nerd TV broadcasts, I remember Kyle Milliken, how strong he was, how aggressive he was in the draft at the Atlanta Motor Speedway back earlier this season for the Mach-1 Performance Cup. And man, if it wasn't for a big wreck and obviously some issues for him not getting the help that he needed, Kyle Milliken very well could have won that race for sure, Jeremy. And here he is tonight wanting to get a win. That Martini Rossi red, black, and blue machine is leading that top lane. Lane Allen as well, who's been very strong as of recent. He's looking to have something. And then, oh yeah, there's the stage 1 or only stage winner from Wednesday night, Robert Milikian, who's looking to try to capture his first FTSR victory.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are still on the hunt for that and trying to stake off them playoff situations going on now. But look at this groove here. Up as you see the 22. That's going to be Malikian going to make a charge here underneath the 14 of Lane Allen. Now going to be drafting the 42 of Kyle Milliken. So if it gets a little more difficult for us, Malikian is following Milliken here on the bottom side of turn 4. And that outside was super dominant. Then all of a sudden the inside now, I'll just wherever the 42 is leading, I think this is going to be the lane to be at this point here. But I also want to notate those guys that fell back because of those bump issues. There are only 5 cars in the line, but they're 3 to 4 mile an hour faster, so they will catch back up to these guys before any type of caution comes out.
For sure. I mean, obviously you get guys running side by side up here at the front, and then you have guys who are single file. They're gonna catch them, no doubt about it. We saw that happen after some green flag pit stops on Saturday night's Cup Series race. That's going to happen. The more these guys race side by side, the more these guys here are back with James Wallace, Colton Gum, Ryan Hedrick, and a couple more drivers there. They're going to catch them. As long as they hold each other tight, they just, really want to work together. Make sure they're not jockeying around like they are right now. Hold one line, stick to it, don't move around. Sure enough, they can definitely catch them here within the next 12 laps for sure.
100% here. While these guys are still running single file, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our series sponsor, Mach-1 Performance. It's the official sponsor here every single Monday night for the FTSR Cup Series. They're a race fabrication shop that was started by Johnny Coy Jr. The shop has produced champions and winners of all sorts of racing divisions, from road circuits like the STCA and NASA to dirt and pavement oval racing. Visit them at facebook.com/Mach-1 Performance. And if you have a race car that needs some repair work done or just some performance upgrades, check them out at Mach-1 Performance.
Here, Jeremy, that Kyle Milliken is continuing to lead this pack. He's gone from top to bottom, and he's got help from Robert Milikian back behind him. And then there's also the 27, Ryan Chapman, who's already locked into the playoffs. And then there's Colby Mice, who unfortunately is not going to make the playoffs, even if he were to win, because of the rule implemented. You need to be in the top 25 in the FTSR points, no matter what series it is, to make the playoffs. So a win would feel good for Colby tonight, but unfortunately would not put his way into the playoffs compared to Kyle Milliken, who basically has nothing to lose here tonight, Jeremy. You're going to see that 42 Martini Rossi Ford Mustang basically trying to get to the front, block lanes late in the going if he's up here at the front all race long, because currently he is sitting just outside the top 16, actually. He's in 18th right now. Can't point his way in, but a win would for sure knock James Wallace out of the playoffs and put Kyle Milliken at a Game 7 clutch moment here entering next week.
And this is why I love Daytona in the final spot, right? These guys who might not have a chance at some other forms of racetracks, they have all the chance here tonight, and the 42 Milliken just has such a dominant car now coming up to lap number 17. Remember, 14th to first in 10 laps, and every single time now he leads a lane, which mostly has been the bottom since taking the lead. The cars are with him, and he is look at this, just still has a 4-car single file lane here on the bottom before Brody Hanna gets to him. They can't even hardly get to him, and the line's basically equal after you get past 4th place. So it's just impressed me how well the 42 is able to pull everybody else behind them, no problem here. And this outside really needs to get grouped up if they want to make a run at the number 42.
Smart thing to do if you're Brody Hanna is start pinching the guys down in the bottom, man. Make them hold their line. I know it's risky, but if you want to try to compete here, earn more playoff points, earn more points towards those standings to get yourself higher up when you enter these playoffs next week when we head to the next race. If I were Brody Hanna right now, I would definitely, for sure, no doubt about it, be hanging my left front fender on that right rear quarter panel of Colby Mice, of Ryan Chapman, Robert Milliken, any of these guys per se, because he does that. He's going to separate their little draft pack, and that is just going to basically slingshot him right out front in a sense. So Brody Hanna probably needs to start side drafting pretty soon if he wants any remote, attempt to try to win this stage.
I feel like Brody was actually listening to you in real time there. You said that, and right off of turn 2, he got not close, but he got closer than what he has been all race long, or anybody for that matter. And he propelled himself up at least door to door with the number 9 of Colby Mice here as we complete lap number 18. They're coming up to 1 lap car here real shortly. So I think that's the 37 of Bartel, or not Bartel, but Brian Dublé. So this is going to put him in a temporary 3-wide situation, as you see now. Here comes 37 up on the camera of the 23 Brody Hanna, who's now went really wide. Going to pick up every single ounce of draft he can off of Dublé. Goes through turn 3 and gives plenty of room there. Appreciate that. But yeah, you're going to have to get close to that right rear corner panel. It pulls all the air off. It really drags, at least, especially for the trucks. I know it does for the next gen too, but not nearly as bad. But you can slow down a car on that inside 2 to 3 mile an hour by really just tugging on that right rear. And it is one way to hopscotch their way up to the front.
I disagree just a little bit. I really do think that the Cup cars, per se, with these next gens, I know for sure the Gen 6s, I drove those a lot more on super speedways than I have with the next gen so far. And man, when you would hang that left front fender on that right rear quarter panel with the Gen 6 cars, with the aero package they had here at the super speedways, man, I can only imagine. You guys know for sure from all the super speedways you've ran, that thing would just go all the way back if you were that car on the bottom getting side drafted by the guy up top. It is so hard, and I can't stress enough with how much side drafting affects these races and will help you throughout a night or a day at one of these super speedway races for sure, no doubt about it.
And it gets worse and worse too as the car upgrades, right? It goes back to the Gen 4, which was just like a plow that went through the air, or a scoop rather. Like there was nothing to it. But now you got this huge brick that's breaking up all this air that pushes the air to the side, and it just really helps the car trying to propel itself. That's a little bit behind you. Utilizes that air punch and can just skip, car here, car there, trying to get where they can. But when you're in a big draft pack, you also need the help behind you here. As you see, the 11 of Tony Solari is behind the 23, his teammate Brody Hannum. So a little bit of a, teamwork situation here by these two, and they know they're fast. And so, it just depends on how much they want to push things on the edge, which, by the way, we have 3 laps until stage break. Stage break is at lap 25.
Yeah, and we're coming down here to the end pretty shortly, and so far Kyle Milliken has just absolutely dominated this ever since he got out front here. And when you look at the top 3, plus 13, plus 11, plus 15, these are all guys who started mid to back of the pack, and they're up here now. And you have a lot of guys actually who are up in this top 10 who have gained a lot of spots since the start of this race, whether it be 6, whether it be 8 spots, like Lane Allen, who's sitting in the 8th spot. It's time to go, man. You want some stage points. You want to prepare yourself, and put yourself in a good position when you go racing here in the second half of this race, even though we won't be halfway when we do go green. But you get my gist here. You want to be in a better position. So make sure that you're making moves, trying to get to the front. Don't be overly aggressive. Remember, you still have till lap 80 to get this thing done. So if you're Brody Hanna, try the best strategies you can. Learn how this car side drafts. Learn how it can take a push and whatnot. He's got his teammate behind him. There's so much you can learn here in just 2 laps.
As we come up 1 lap to go here, watch out for this bottom lane. I am going to almost promise you someone's going to move to the outside to try to advance 1 or 2 spots here. 1 to go at the stage. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Nerd Swag. If you haven't been over to our site recently, head over to nerditudes.gg/nerd swag, or you can just go to swag.nerditudes.gg, however you want to get to there. We got Martin Sports exclusive shirts, gloves, and then we also have a couple of different things like bottles and mouse pads and anything nerdy really. And the Shirtitudes, especially, that's a new lineup for the Martin Sports thing. Those shirts are quite awesome and nerdy. So if you're wanting to support the nerds in any shape or form, head over to swag.nerditudes.gg. And here we go, the top side here on turn number 3. I expected some move here, but it came from Brody Hanna directly. Shot out of a cannon coming to turn 3. Gets the side draft. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Coming to lap number 25. 1 car super sideways. One's going to cut the yard. And there it is. Brody Hanna just pressed the nitrous button and collects himself stage.
They're still green right here. I think this is actually the last lap, and they were just trying to get they were just trying to get situated there throughout the front. And look at this debacle they've created up here at the front. Brody Hanna's teammate has ultimately been shifted up to the top. Kyle Milliken jumps out of line. He's going to have the whole field trailing him like he's Dale Jr., the Pied Piper at Daytona, into 3 and 4 for the last time in this stage.
Everyone had me fooled. I thought they were moving like it was the last lap, but you are correct. This is now the last one, so sorry about the guys that are watching, and I messed up right there. But coming to line, that 42 still leading the way. He's going to pull that number 22 along with them, but Jamie not finished his 2nd place. Came out of nowhere. I didn't expect him to be in that top 5 like that, but there was a lot of stuff going on there as they got to the line for the 1 to go on the stage. And that's it. First caution of the night presented by Roasted Gems Coffee comes at lap number 25 for the stage break in there. And these guys all got all sorted out. So while they're going to figure it out, go to pit road. We got a quick Nerd TV replay here before we kick it out of what happened here on the front stretch. Coming to the white flag. See a touch there from the 27 and the number 9. Sends Ryan Chapman into the infield. Loses a ton of positions right there. Thankfully, did not hit the wall of any nature. And yeah, that really spaced out quite a few people.
It definitely did right there for sure, Jeremy. And Kyle Milliken obviously took advantage of all those guys shuffling around up at the front of the field, because once that 23 got out ahead of him, that 11 got up to the top side, and then Kyle was able to take advantage of it. Thankfully, nobody else really suffered any severe damage. 27, Ryan Chapman, thankfully was able to keep it in the grass. Unfortunate for him, but I'm sure that Ryan Chapman can bounce back because he's got a top 10 streak to keep alive here.
Another person really affected was that number 11, Tony Solari, was following that 23 of Brody Hanna to the line there, and well, he's now scored on the board 12th or 15th place rather, so lost over 10 positions on that exchange. But we are now going to kick it to our first picture-in-picture commercial break, Be back with you guys shortly before the drop of the green flag for stage number 2. And back to full screen here as we get set up for stage number 2 for the Daytona 200 at the Mach-1 Performance Cup Series here for the season finale of the 2023B season. And I think we have Jason Rockefeller standing by right now with radio with our current race leader, the 42 of Kyle Milliken there. They're the Martini Ford Mustang. Kyle, do you have a copy?
What's Kyle?
Hey, what's up there, Mr. Milliken? Man, that Martini Rossi Ford Mustang is absolutely flying tonight, man. We know how good you are on these type of racetracks. What do you think you got here for this second half of the race? Because you are in basically a must-win situation to make these playoffs. How are your chances?
Yeah, our plate program's usually pretty good as long as stay away from craziness that I'm sure is going to happen here in the second stage. We might be all right. We'll see. All of Elevate seems to be running really good tonight.
Yeah, you guys definitely all seem to be going really, really good so far. I've seen a couple of your teammates, obviously, up at the front. Robert was up there beforehand. Ryan was up there as well. Unfortunately, got caught up in a little scuffle there heading towards the 1 lap to go signal for the stage. You guys have been really strong tonight. Do you guys plan to all stick together all the way till the very end, or do you guys plan to go separate ways probably?
We'll see how it plays out here on the restart. I know we're kind of spread out right now. A couple of us may go to the back, but I think by the end, everybody's going to find their teammates.
Well, you got half a lap to go here before green. We'll send you back down into your team channel. Hopefully, we'll talk to you here at the end of the race.
Appreciate it.
Was the driver of the 42 machine. Jeremy, I think this 42 machine is probably, just from these first 25 laps we've seen, by far that Martini and Rossi scheme is going to be the one to beat here tonight.
100%. 14th the first in 10 laps, and minus that one huge run with the 1 to go there that I thought was the checker flag from Brody Hanna on the top. Outside of that, it was just lights out 42 all the way. So I'm expecting no different here. This is Daytona. You can't make huge in-car adjustments to get the car that much faster. You can maybe make it a little tighter, a little looser, but you're not going to adjust the speed of the car naturally by doing anything in pit road. So I think the 42 Kyle Milliken's going to be that car you want to follow wherever he was. He was pulling that lane really quick, and we're about to find out here. Stage break is over, and here we are, green flag stage number 2 Kyle Milliken leads the way. The 63 of Ben Tracy up 4 positions. He's going to be starting this thing in P2, and he's got right behind him the number 31 of Jeff Chandler, which we know he's also fast here.
And remember, we saw Ben Tracy get very, very sideways there about halfway through that stage, Jeremy. So that 63 machine very well still could be squirrely, maybe made a few adjustments in the pits there at the end of that stage. So we'll have to see how the 63 machine handles here in the second half of the race.
Shout out to our first chat of the evening, which has been like the longest drought we've had since, ever. Matt Keach on the Facebook saying, yo, what's up, man? Yeah, it's not the A, but it's the yo. It's cool, man. Welcome aboard here. Hopefully you're enjoying the race so far tonight. And this, I think, stage 2, give it about 1 pit stop, and then it's going to be all hell from that point. Because those must-win situations that you talked about a couple of times, Jason. 42 basically has it locked down here, doing just wherever he's going to be, right? He's going to be leading the pack. So everybody else behind him that are in position for points, they're going to need to do something, which is going to cause them to maybe make some chaotic moves or go a little 3 wide or bump somebody you don't want to bump or something like that to get them in position. So once this thing starts to wind down, this is where it's going to pick up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to pick up. Obviously, you're going to see the patient game here. But just like we saw on Wednesday night, Jeremy, when is that patient game going to finally end? When is somebody going to have enough and say, hey, I want to play something different? And they're going to want to jump out of line, make it 3 wide, try to make moves towards that front of the field. That's when you start seeing accidents like we nearly saw at the end of that first stage and halfway through it. As you see the digger shot right from the center of 1 and 2 with the pink sky, always beautiful, whether it be real or virtual world. And folks, I can tell you, man, there is nothing quite like a sunset over the Daytona International Speedway, virtually or like in real life. But here we go. Here's 2 drivers, Jeremy, out of line down the back straight away. The 14 of Lane Allen, 25 of Hollingsworth, trying to get the top side rolling into 3.
I appreciate iRacing for having that beautiful orange pinkish sky. They're naturally happening, right, just by positioning of everything that they do on the weather side of things. But yeah, outside is starting to make a move here. 14, one of the guys who must win it to be in it. Lane Allen there leading the charts here on the top. With 25, my pick earlier this evening, Stephen Hollingsworth, keeping himself in the top 10 for the most part. Has a pretty good car there, I would say. And then Jamie Knopp right behind him, just, one of those other cars that are super fast no matter where they be. So I have a strong hope for this lane here. As you see some little bumps are sending the 14, little left-right action. Keep that bumper squared up.
Oh, yeah, definitely keep that bumper squared up. We saw a lot of guys earlier on in the race, obviously on Saturday night. And then you saw some really, really, really hard square hits, man. And that's the thing. You can't hit these cars square at a full head of speed. We saw, obviously, on Saturday night, and thank goodness that he was all right after that accident. You saw Eric Jones give a huge shot to the back bumper of Ryan Preece, send him across the infield grass over the back straightaway chicane. Car went flipping, tumbling over and over, side over side, end over end. And that's the thing, man. You do not want to push these cars very hard because that's the kind of incident that you can start up. You don't want to push a guy in the right rear. You don't want to push a guy in the left rear. And you sure as heck don't want to push a guy at full speed and knowing that they don't have so much control like you do, since you know when you're going to hit them in the rear.
Yeah, just like the real life guys, these guys here virtually doing the same exact thing. They're putting their setups more on the edge, learning more and more about these cars. And so you could be a little extra looser this race than you were last race to find that little edge of speed. And so if you bump that guy who's trying something, a little stronger on the setup to a little more on the edge, you're going to send that guy around more times than not. So you just have to play the safety card. But this outside seemed to start to fall back just a hair. You see Lane Allen 5 cars back now on the top side here. 42, 22 are still leading the charge here in those Ford Mustangs. But with a little bit of help, the 25 gets a little 2-car tango, is going to propel at least the 14 up to 3rd place out of nowhere here. Great shove by Stephen Hollingsworth. They come through turns 3 and 4. Let's see if they have the momentum to at least crack 2nd place.
Look at the speed there on Lane Allen off turn number 4 through the tri-oval at 194 miles an hour as they head back down the front straightaway. Allen is just very, very strong up on the top side with Hollingsworth. Gets a little loose there down the straightaway. And like we talked about, Jeremy, that patience game still one more pit stop to go. But will we see pit stops before we see an incident? It might happen. You see lots of drivers all squirrely sideways down the back straightaway, trying to figure out which lane they want to go with, and if they have enough momentum to make a move.
The outside lane just completely bombed themselves. You see a bunch of gaps right now, and this is going to hurt big time. Might see a couple cars fan to the bottom just to kind of maintain speed, or you play the patience to get that thing restacked up, but the inside just looks so much more in formation than the top side does right now. They're starting to get back to him, but it took almost an entire lap to get that issue resolved, as it's still kind of a two-car separation. Chris Beck in the 44 needs to move up to get back to the 0-6 there to make anything happen. And Matt Keach, yes, the racing does look kind of crazy like it did last night, or Saturday night rather. You were there in real time. I wish I was able to join. Just too much things on the schedule, but maybe next time, next year. But here it comes. Turn number 3, the 1425, back together. The whole entire outside lane is there. They're making the charge once again off of 4, coming to the start-finish line to complete lap 37.
And now we're going to try to see, will Lane Allen decide to maybe side draft more compared to what Brody Hanna was doing earlier on, or should I say later on in that first stage before lap 25. You saw the 23 not really utilizing that side drafting technique, whether it be down the straightaways or pinching throughout wrapping the corners of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Maybe we'll see the 14 of Lane Allen do that. We know that he's been a very good super speedway racer, gets caught up in other people's incidents, so maybe that 14 machine might lead that outside lane just a little bit differently than what Brody Hanna did earlier on.
And what I love about this is both 42 and the 14 are both two of the drivers in a must-win situation, so they are equally as hungry as one another to try to win this thing. And I have a question / thing for either Mr. Jason. I was looking over the people who need a checker flag to get into the championship, right? If you're Boomerang Motorsports, we have the 27 or the 37, 47, 57, 67, all 4 drivers that need to have this win to get in. How do you sort that out with 10 laps to go?
You really don't. That's the thing. You can try to stick with your teammates for as long as you can, but like we all know with super speedway racing, and I am guilty of this, I would ditch my cousin on the last lap. I would wreck him practically, not on purpose, but you know, if it came down to it, if it happens, it happens, man. As you see that outside lane surge out and kind of get stacked up just a little bit, be careful there, boys. But Jeremy, the Martin Sports gloves are off when it comes down to the last 2 laps of these races, man. You don't have any teammates. They've helped you get there. Now it's time to forget about them. It's kind of like the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink it. Well, take that with racing terms. You can lead them to the front, but then once you get to the front with them, you take that water away from them, man. You want to take all the water you can. And I know that's kind of a weird analogy to make, but in you know, retrospect, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. So that's the thing. Once 2 to go, you ditch your teammates, man. You got to fend for yourself.
You know, that's a pretty good analogy to make there. And as you were saying, I was actually watching halfway through the field. The outside, for whatever reason, at the very beginning of the lane, just had a huge checkup. And it just domino affected all the way back to the 57 of Joshua Johnson. He slammed whoever was in front of him. He lost the pace, and look at him. Now he's back there in 22nd place with just a couple of the cars behind him as they're regrouping, and we all know the single file, you know, in the back of the pack is going to catch back up to the main pack who's side drafting. It's definitely faster to be single file, but man, there was just a huge domino effect that happened with these guys, and you know, I would imagine there's some type of damage there on the front end of the 57.
Very well could be, Jeremy, and I mean, that's the thing, is these guys get all stacked up. You can definitely create nose damage, punch a hole in the nose and damage that radiator, create overheating or engine damage, and you're not going to be able to turn the RPMs you want to. So they definitely have to be careful with that. That's why you don't want to slam into the guy in front of you. You don't really be up on his rear bumper per se the whole time. Lay off. Give him a half a car length to a car length gap in front of you, because if you just close that gap in, you never know. Next thing you know, you're right on his rear bumper. Wreck happens. You're running right into the back of him. You're going to create some damage for yourself.
Yeah, 100% there. And you mentioned Mach-1 or Martin Sports rather for their gloves being off. Well, I recommend you keep them on because they are the home for sim racing when it comes to their gloves. They are the best, most breathable, durable gloves the sim world has ever seen, and so I would keep them on all the way to the checker flag for sure. But they also have more products than just the gloves, which they are known for. They also have customized sublimation printing on everything from team uniforms to shirts, hoodies, which allows for zero restrictions on color and the absolute fastest turnaround in the business. They also have hats and quite a few other things too. So if you want to check out their plethora of products they offer to the public, head over to martinsports906.com. And anything you purchase from Scott Martin at Martin Sports, we have that fancy Super Nerd promo code. It won't save you 25% off anything you purchase from their website here. But you quickly saw, just for a lap or so, that 42 lost the lead to the 25, sent him to the back. And then now look at this, the 42 and the 22 once again lead the charge on the bottom. This is a dominant duo right here.
These two have been so strong on this bottom side tonight. And the thing that's very interesting that you kind of want to put out there is, will Robert Malikian try to win his first race if it does come down to him and his teammate, man? Because currently heading into tonight's points battle, he's 12th in the playoff leaderboard. He's safe, man. He's safe. As long as he keeps running like this, these guys are way too far back behind him to even remotely make a run, and pass him. So he's pretty much locked in on points. But will he go for that opportunity, or will he try to help his teammate get into the playoffs? Because Kyle Milliken needs to win, man. He is too far back from Bartel and Wallace to point his way in. Even with that stage victory, not enough. He's in a must-win situation. We talked to him over the radio after the stage break. So that's the thing that's going to really, I guess, put a light bulb over our heads, Jeremy, and kind of make ourselves have that little, thinking cap on. What will happen? Will the 22 decide to push his teammate, or will the 22 fend for himself there at the end and go for a win? But only time will tell. We'll have to see here, as we're just a little bit over halfway in this race.
Well, just like them two, I'm also a strong bottom here, but sometimes you need support from the top, and that's why Stephen Hollingsworth right now is making a move here.
Wow.
He's got some good help behind him, and they've actually picked up quite a few positions once more here. I think that's followed up by the 0-6, if I'm reading that number correctly there. But just when he gets to about third or fourth place, the outside lane just continues to stall, even with that big gap there between the 17 and the 41, which, by the way, shout out to the 41, Alan Crowell. Remember, he always starts without qualifying. 27th place. This guy is in P7 right now at the line that last time, right now sitting in 5th. That's over 20 spots earned, and that was before the stage caution, really. He's just kind of hanging out inside the top 10 since he got there. So shout out to the 41 for also making huge moves.
Yeah, and Alan Crowell needs to win as well. He's a rookie. He is currently sitting 20th on the playoff leaderboard. So win for him tonight. He's in that top 25 in points. So win tonight would lock him into the FTSR Mach-1 Performance Cup Series playoffs. And then another guy as well, Brandon Elder, who's up 16 spots from where he started. He's there in that 51 machine, currently sitting in 7th. You see that white and black Sharpie machine. That by far my favorite scheme here. Sorry, Jeremy. I know you love your schemes. I know you love your nerds, but this has got to be the most clever scheme I have ever seen on any race car. I just think it literally looks so sharp. No pun intended. But this car just looks so dang cool, and it would definitely be a special moment to see a Sharpie car go back to victory lane. You think of Kurt Busch, who just officially announced his retirement from NASCAR competition. Dale Jr. winning in the Sharpie number 8 machine back in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Bristol many years ago. It'd be cool to see that Sharpie car go back to victory lane, because he needs to win in order to make his way into the playoffs as well.
As much as I love seeing my skins or schemes on the track, I also appreciate some really good creative ones, not made by me, of course. And yeah, that 51 for sure has a just something about it, right? I love whenever people, it's most popular in the anime style schemes, and I think there's a few others, or comic book for that matter too, to where they look like they're sketched, right? All the fenders are outlined, all the body panel lines are all sketched out, and so I've seen that before. Dustin's trying to tell me what exactly that is. Shell shading, thank you. Yes, that kind of style. Like I've always had an appreciation for it, but I've never seen it in the sim world up until this season, where the 51 there, Brandon Elder is running it. It has definitely been top 5 in the FTSR league for me myself. So maybe in the future I might do something. But you watch out there, Jason. I got Wednesday. I got another scheme that's gonna be hitting the track. So keep her out for that one.
Maybe I'll have to keep an eye out on it for sure. And one thing we're going to have to keep our eye out on is the possibility of the big one happening here pretty soon. These guys, Jeremy, coming down this time by lap 50 out of 80. Everything is getting a lot more intense, a lot more aggressive up not only towards the back and middle half of the field, but up at the front. You see the 51, Brandon Elder, pushing on that right rear, man. You don't want to do that in the corners. That's how you can create a big one. Kind of like what we saw Christopher Bell do to Ty Gibbs, and ultimately started off that first chain reaction on Saturday night with Ryan Blaney. And then obviously the 22 and the 42, the teammates, they're hooked up on the bottom. But look at the surge of momentum coming from the top side. They stack up a little bit. Brandon Elder, though, continuing to push the heck out of the 25 of Hollingsworth into 3 and 4.
That was a crazy move there on the outside this lap or so. The amount of side draft picked up, and that's how the outside lane got a cannon shot, especially off of turn number 2, able to just propel the 25 in the lead last lap and now this lap. So 2 laps in a row, the outside has taken over the inside, led by the 42 of Milliken. This time, Hollingsworth has now proven himself here to not only be able to draft well, but also lead well. He's been leading this outside lane for quite a bit. Utilized a little extra draft, and now here he is, got almost a whole car length over the 42 Kyle Milliken down the backstretch once again, which that turn 2 exit seems to be exactly where you want to be if you're looking for momentum to maybe pass somebody midway down the backstretch into turn number 3. We've seen so many passes in the real world and in the sim world made by off turn 2 exit here. And I see for the first time on YouTube, we got a chat is coming from the guy who's missed tonight's race, the number 19, Richie Coy, for unfortunate circumstances, rather. Hopefully you're doing okay wherever you're at right now watching the race, man, but appreciate you at the same time for popping in here and joining in. It's been a pretty crazy race right now as we got under 30 laps to go in this season finale.
Yeah, this has been absolutely crazy tonight. Just the intensity level that went from about a 1 to about a 10, maybe an 11, breaking that 10 barrier here as we're on lap 52 coming to 53. These guys are pushing the heck out of one another. It's getting dicey, Jeremy. And like we talked about, the patience. And Jeff Burton says it back on Saturday night. It's like a ticking time bomb. You don't know when it's going to happen. And that's the thing. It's kind of like, for example, you think back to Jaws. You obviously you hear the suspenseful music, the Jaws theme playing. You don't know when it's going to happen, but it's creeping up on you. And that's kind of like what it's like racing. Walter, come on, man. But you hear obviously the Jaws theme and the suspense and it growing. It's kind of like racing like that here out of Super Speedway because you just never know when it's going to happen. And that's the unpredictability level that's presented when you go to tracks like Daytona, like Talladega, like Atlanta. You just never know when it's going to happen. And the thing about it, it can happen anywhere out on the racetrack. It can happen in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 25th. It doesn't matter. You are not safe anywhere you are.
And then the fact that you can have a random massive air pocket just pop up between you and the guy you're side drafting and take you out as well. So, other keys, and even like the sometimes when you get the connections that aren't too strong, right, and the cars seem to have hydraulics all of a sudden, that could throw you for a loop too. So quite a few factors for sure. But after that little stretch there where the outside had all that momentum, they have completely phased out. Look how scattered they are. They're 3 wide now down the back straightaway. They're left and right of each other, but the inside just continues to be formal, right? They're just nose to tail. Ooh, close between the 63 and the 75 going through turns 3 and 4 here. You don't want to risk it right now. And that was so close to causing the first natural caution here this evening. But we give a shout out to another one of our partners because we have the time to do so. And this time it's going to come from our boys over at Dusty Pete's, the official hobby shop for the Nerditudes. It's a hobby store with a whole lot more. They're based out of New York, and Dusty Pete's is your one-stop shop for many things nerdy. So if collecting is the game, then Dusty Pete's is the name. From figurines and action figures to collectible cards such as Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, And sports cards, all the way to die-cast replicas, Dusty Pete's is the place. And they have comics. So if you want to up your comic collection, they have a plethora of comics for any nerd, young and old. So if you want to collect some things that are nerdy, then visit dustypete's.com and use that same promo code SuperNerd for 10% off anything you purchase. No, we got pit stops and we got wrecks at the same token of the 17 Steve Loomis, hard of the inside pit wall there.
Yeah, the 17, Jeremy, we were coming down pit road. He was kind of going a little bit faster than usual, and I think he was going to miss his pit box there, and he just all of a sudden just cut left right in front of the 51 of Brandon Elder, ultimately got turned right into the pit road wall. It looks like that car might be smoking just a little bit. Heavy damage to the 17 machine of Stephen Loomis. Here we go. Here's the replay off turn 4. That 17 Camaro is going to lead them all down to pit road, gets it slowed up. Hollingsworth just barely, I think, made it, and the 17 trying to figure out where his pit road is. Ultimately, the 51's coming down, the 17 just comes down right away. I'm actually very surprised he didn't start coming down a little bit earlier and decide to go so late into his pit box. I mean, it's not like it was super late, but still a very late entry for the 17 as well. And I'm sure the 51, he doesn't know where his pit box is. So it's not like he's trying to pay attention where the 17's going. He's just doing his own thing, man, trying to head into his pit box. So unfortunate for both the 17 and the 51 as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of situations on that one I don't like. First off, yeah, the 17 made a late cut to his pit box. I get that, right? And he also slowed down pretty early, so that should have been the transfer lane, which is the middle lane there. But the 51 of Elder actually cut down into that transfer lane about close to 10 stalls prior to his, as we got more pit stops happening here. Looks like we got the 63, the 84, and the 06. Those three guys, Jamie Knott, Ben Tracy, and Simmons here, hitting their pit box 3, 2, 1. But yeah, so the combination of the 17 making a late cut, the 51 trying to pass him because he was making a slow stop into his pit box with a late cut. It was just a bunch of different miscommunications all going on there. So protocols could be followed better, probably on both ends. But that sucks, though, for the 51 and 17. You know, they only had 5 or 6 cars coming down pit road, being teammates and whatnot. And just, you know, think could have been better on that end. And that's telling for a lot of people, right? You hit the on-track strategy perfectly, right? You find your teammates, you're doing the drafting, you're in the top pack, you're doing great. And then you come down to pit road, and that's when things go up to a blaze. I've been in plenty of those situations, and let me tell you, that is one of the most frustrating things that you can happen to you as a driver.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been a victim of it myself, whether it be on the opposing side or the opposite side. You know, it's just part of it. And getting onto pit road here at the super speedways of Daytona and Talladega, and now the new Atlanta, it's just so difficult, man. You're going from 200 miles an hour down to pretty much, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's about 55 miles an hour, if I'm correct, guys. But, I mean, regardless of the speed, you are going from a high rate all the way down to highway speed, you know, on your local highway just a couple blocks away. That's how fast you go all the way down to that speed on everyday, you know, in everyday life. So it's difficult to get down there because not only are you trying to get down to the bottom and slow that car down, you're trying to downshift. You're trying to make sure that everybody's organized. Nobody's going to run into the back of one another. And that's why you see so many incidents coming onto pit road at tracks like this.
You are close. That's actually 60 miles an hour because iRacing puts in that 5 mile an hour buffer.
Off.
They give you the 5 mile an hour buffer on iRacing, so it is 55. I do believe to the rule book, but in the server it is 60. That's how we're going to count it here. But either way, that's still 200 mile an hour to 60 to 140. You have all that, you know, first part of the straightaway to get down to speed, but the same token, if you go easy, you're going to lose all that track position. So you have to, you know exactly where your break point is. It looks like some entered in quickly, some did not, kind of scattered it out, and that's why there were 2, almost looked 3 wide at one point coming down to pit road. But this is still your focus right now. The top cars in the packs, or in the pack rather, that's going to be 8 cars it looks like that need to come down for pit road. And I think Brody Hanna's calling down pit road, so we might see this pack all come in.
Yeah, that's all pit. I mean, you have a majority of Fords up here up at the front of the field, and here they come, this time by off turn number 4, trying to get it slowed down to 60. Lots of guys coming in a little hot. Crowell in the grass. He's going to miss pit road. So Alan Crowell, and he's going to collect the 11 of Tony Solari around on pit road entry. Heartbreaker for not only the 11, but the 41 who overshot the pit road entry line. Those guys are going to be well off the pace. Tony Solari just a victim of something out of his control. And Alan Crowell, who was in a must-win situation, possibly just ruined his chances at making the playoffs.
That's huge. They're going to get a replay on the Nerd TV replay right now. The 41 misses it. I don't know how, but then he came back across. No grip in the grass. There's way more grip in real life, so it's just ice skates out there in the virtual world. And the number 11, Solari, just did absolutely nothing wrong. And the 41 of Crowell crosses him over in pit road, clips him in the right rear. But if you notice, too, the number 4 of Chad Lang, if we can catch him, right? Look how fast he's coming down pit road. He manages it, right? He was following the 41 into pit road as we're seeing the onboard of the number 11, just right there. Boop, right rear, sends you around 180. Thankfully, nothing more, but they're definitely going to lose the main pack for sure. But I'm going to kick back to the Chad Lang. He was behind the 41 of Crowell. Watch him right here. He's behind him. He's behind him. And he's going to pass everybody and make it down to speed, where the 41 clearly was a lot slower and still somehow missed pit road. So great job by Chad Lang, but 41, I'm not too sure what happened there.
Jeremy, this is not uncommon where these guys have a safe entry all the way to the pit entry line, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, on pit road, somebody gets turned. We saw it a few years ago, back in, I believe it was 2019. Brad Keselowski got turned about 180 degrees right into his pit box, funny enough. Did the pit stop, went back around, and went out there, and he was off the tail end of the draft, but still, that's the thing. It happens here, man. This is not uncommon for these guys to have that safe entry into pit road, because everybody assumes, oh my goodness, they're going to wreck coming on the pit road. We've seen it so many times. Next thing you know, oh, hey, how about that? They made it on the pit road safe. Then boom, next thing you know, somebody's getting turned. It's just really kind of a collaboration of not only you're going from being so fast down to being so slow, and you're still in that intense moment, but also because you're coming down and everybody's very spread out. You just saw right there when we were looking at that replay, you had a guy all the way out almost into the grass. Then you had a guy all the way down on the inside, practically almost in somebody else's box. So that's the thing about pit road for super speedway is another thing compared to regular tracks is everybody's a lot more spread out when you're coming into pit road.
Right now on your camera is the 4 cars that will be leading this race. Once the 2, the 10, and the 6, that's Alan Duranco, Colton Gum, James Torrey. Once those 3 cars come down pit road, this is your leader. And right behind them, the number 41 of Crowell, who caused that wreck there, he's already 1 lap down. He's going to hold the inside here as everybody else much faster is going to pass on the outside, which, to agree or disagree with, I think the outside car, or the slow car, should go to the outside rather, but he likes to hug the bottom here. Everybody's going to pass him on the top side through turns 2 and on the back stretch. But that little spin out cost him an entire lap now. Even though he's got a fast car, he still has to, now be the patient car. Obviously, he can pass these guys, but if you pass them, it's for no good reason. So just kind of hang tight there. But, yeah, still waiting on the top 3 to make their pit stops happen. And then that 42, 22, 4, and 31, those 4 cars will be leading this race.
Yeah, the best opportunity for the 41 machine would be able to, get that lead lap back, but it's going to be very, very hard to. He's going to need to caution, so we'll have to see how it goes, but 15 laps to go, and the 42 and the 22, the 31, they're all hooked up together. These are the guys who, they timed it just right. The 2 and the 10, I'm kind of confused as to why they're waiting so long to come into the pits. I don't know if this is just some kind of oddball strategy. Same with the 6 of James Torrey. But these guys are only 17 seconds back behind them, man. So they're easily going to pass them. So this 2, 10, and 6, they're going to need a yellow for sure when they do come down pit road and come out as well.
My only thing is if a lot of these other guys were 1 lap down or more, it would make sense to why they're staying out. But there's not. There's only 3 cars 1 lap down or more. That's the 41 of Crowell, the 17 of Loomis, and the number 9 of Colby Mice. That's it. Everybody else on the lap. So they're holding up nothing here by staying out. Though, the only positive note is you put less fuel in the tank whenever you come down if you're using the auto fuel marker, right? It's less laps, that's less fuel. So it shortens up that pit stop. So that's the only positive I can see out of this. Outside of that, I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out. But yeah, we have, 13 to go now, last time by. So it's coming down to the very end. These guys have to come down at some point.
Yeah, and they're really just hurting themselves more and more, Like I said, I'm just very confused with this move, but I mean, and even if the caution comes out right now, Jeremy, I mean, these guys have to pit. They're going to have to pit, and they're going to go all the way to the back. So the best case scenario for them, like you talked about, is them pitting, taking just a little bit of fuel, but just enough to make it to the end, and coming out and somehow merging back into the pack. But they're still going to be at the back. When you look at these times right now, everybody from pretty much all the way from Hollingsworth back to Ben Tracy, that is currently 8th through 16th. They're all in a single file pack. And then you have the 42, 22, 31, 4. They're all grouped up together. And then behind Ben Tracy, you have James Wallace, Chris Beck, Ryan Hedrick, Josh Johnson, Duglay. I mean, they're all just hooked up right now. There's not really going to be, and here they come down pit road now. So we'll have to see how the strategy plays out. Really, though, kind of questioning why they stayed out for so long.
It looks like they're all three hitting their marks just fine. And I was actually looking back to the data here. Listen to this. The number 10, Colton Gum, I think he was leading most of those laps there. Listen to his lap times. 47.0, 47.3, 47.0, 47.2, 47.2, right? That's the last 5 laps from the leader of a 3-car pack. Now we're going to kick over to the 42 in his last 5 laps. 46.7, 46.6, 46.4, 46.3, 46.3. That's almost an entire second faster with 4 cars versus 3 cars. So they were doing absolutely no benefit to that 3-car pack by staying out. They lost, 10, 15 seconds maybe completed because they stayed out so long. So this is clearly going to be your 4-pack setup for the finish here. I mean, they have a bigger pack brewing behind them, led by Stephen Hollingsworth in the 25. But these guys are 9 to 10 seconds back, and with 10 laps to go here in this event, that's a second a lap. I don't think these guys are going to catch, so it's going to be a 4-race battle unless we get that little yellow flag out.
Yeah, that's obviously the possibility, and the commentator's curse does exist. Trust me, we know it better than anybody on this planet probably here, commentating for iRacing. But and back to that little. The strategy between the guys over there. I mean, James Torrey and Colton Gum need to win to make the playoffs. They're in the top 25, 21st, and 24th seed coming in. They needed to win to make it into the playoffs. And now they're out. They're basically out of this race unless somehow, some way, we get a late race yellow, knock on wood, and the whole field wrecks, knock on wood, and then somehow, some way, they just managed to be up at the front like Austin Dillon was last year when the rain came in turn 1. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But by the looks of it, with how spread out this field is right now, there's really no reason to kind of pull out a line and be aggressive if you're that backpack. But the only thing that kind of makes me think to myself, maybe we will get a yellow, is if those guys behind this 4-car pack start pushing very, very hard and somebody gets out of shape and out of line and creates some kind of mayhem.
Yeah, it's going to take a bad bump in that bigger pack for sure to have this caution come out. I think the outside 4 are going to be just fine. And if you're kind of watching the lap times, I said 9 seconds. I really meant 4. If you look at the scoring pylon on the right-hand side of your screen, you have the active delta times, right? So you have the 4 of Chad Lang, 0.3 behind the leader. And then Hollingsworth, that last time by was a 3.77. Now he's a 3.52. So they're technically making ground, right? 4 versus 9 or 10 cars. It's just not enough time. So you're going to see these guys maybe force an issue, press the car in front of them just a little bit harder, and we might see that contact that sends somebody around. That's very possible in these races. Every single time you're going to see at least a car get loose, if not get turned here. And I want to do a shout out to one of our partners once more. This time, our friends over at Sim Racing Points, all-inclusive league points management system that allows admins and owners to completely track their league stats with just one simple upload of the race export. But they don't stop there. If you're an avid webmaster, they allow for complete creation of custom widgets for any league website to fully display points, results, and more that easily update when results are uploaded. So just a few simple clicks and your league will be up and running and looking professional while doing so. Check out everything they have to offer your league at simracingpoints.com. And Jason, they're approaching just at 3 seconds, but we're going to have 6 laps to go at the line here.
Yeah, and if they want to get to him, Jeremy, by my calculations, being 3 seconds back, Stephen Hollingsworth to the back of Chad Lang, they're 3 seconds back. 6 laps to go. By my calculations, they're going to need to gain about half a second or so every single lap in order if they want to try to even remotely get there. Now, obviously, the closer they get, the more of a tow they're going to get off the back half of that 4-car pack. So we'll have to see. It was about 3.5 seconds. It's 3 seconds now. So they're continuing to kind of try to dwindle that down. But if you have guys getting out of shape and not staying in a straight, and I mean a super straight line, you are going to have a lot of trouble catching this field. And this is the awesome thing about super speedway racing, Jeremy, when it comes to strategy and it comes to time to pit for fuel, is you have opportunities like this where you have guys who pitted in a low car count pack pit road. They're now out there, 4-car pack, out by 2.5 seconds, and this backfield is just like a freight train here on a railroad. They are on rails. They are flying towards the front, and at any moment they could catch them. It's just they have to have great organizational skills, and by the looks of it right now, it's going to be really, really close if they get there.
I think right now what's benefiting the front pack is the 4 cars right now. The only one that needs to get into this thing by a win is that 42 Kyle Milliken. Jeff Chandler has it locked up. He's got wins. Robert Malikian, he's well inside the top 12. He's 12th place right now. He's not losing it by points. And then in the number 4, Chad Lang, he's in P2 right now in that perspective. So 3 guys out of these 4 are locked in. So I don't think they're going to pass each other. I think they're going to run just as is, allow that 42 to maybe get in there and just contend for the championship. But you're seeing that pack right behind them. They're just closing in ever so slightly. Just not enough time here. That's also led by a guy who needs to win. So that 25 is probably on the radio saying, hey, guys, come on, button it up. We need to go. We need to go. We need to go. But I just think there's not enough time.
I don't think there's enough time either, Jeremy. I mean, the only way that they're going to maybe have something here is possibly if the 31 and the 4 want to get out of line on the very last lap. But even then, they're back by 2.5 seconds, man. Now 2.39. I mean, the gap is closing, but then all of a sudden it grows, and then it closes, and it grows. We're going to have to see here. The gap is just about to get down to 2 seconds. So if they want any kind of chance, man, they are about to have to gain a second a lap. And now that they're a little bit closer, they're going to get the tow off of that 4-car, but it's not going to be a lot. So coming down 2 laps to go this time by, that 25 of Hollingsworth and the entire back of that field need to get organized here if they want to catch him. 2 to go this time by the line. 2 seconds. Will they make it up? We'll have to see.
Coming off of turn 2, these guys in the backpack had a huge domino effect of bumps, and it really propelled them forward, but it really also scattered the line out there. 2.1 is the gap here between the first and second pack. 2 laps to go. Definitely not enough time if they want anything to happen. But the focus will be on this 42. He needs to win. Will the 22 be his best friend here and stay aligned, or does he want to pick up his first win of the season for all of 2023? That'll be determined in just over 1 lap here as they're coming to turn 4. And you know what time it is. The white flag is going to be out, and it's going to be presented by absolutely nobody here. Kyle Milliken 1 lap away from winning into the championship rounds.
To see here, could he advance into the playoffs? 4 cars up at the front, the backpack back by 1.5 seconds. Not gonna get there. Kyle Milliken in a must-win situation, a Game 7 moment, if you could put it that way. Jeff Chandler trying to possibly make a move Chad Lang thinking, what's he going to do? And here's the teammate, Robert Malikian. He's trying to hold him at bay for his teammate heading into 3 for the final time.
Tons of space here, not putting any pressure on. The 42 is going to come off turn 4 on the inside lane. Oh, huge wreck in the back. 4 or 5 cars involved in this one. Oh, and everybody else wrecks, and this is going to guarantee it. The winner of tonight's race and locks himself into the playoffs at the very last moment is the number 42 of Kyle Milliken, and of course, that is your Martin Sports winning moment.
Yeah, you saw the 22 right there. The 31 jumped out of line. I don't know if he got touched in the left rear and sent him into the 22, or if the 22 just threw a bad block. But ultimately, they wrecked coming down to the start-finish line, but they did keep it straight. So they still finished the second, third, and a fourth. But Jeff was able to just get past Robert there. We'll take a look here at the replay. This is a wreck, and we'll have to see. Did you look at, that's the 63 machine of James Torrey, not James Torrey, excuse me. That is the 63 machine of Ben Tracy. Gets up, that's him in front of Jamie Knopp, the 06 machine as well. And this is after the wreck, I believe, so we'll try to get another replay here on this, but it was a massive wreck, I believe. And I believe it could have been the 25 machine, but he was able to cross the line. Not too sure. Yeah. Kyle Milliken, though.
It was actually turned by the 33 of Sherwood Williford and the 14 of Landau, and that's what set him off there in the middle of turn 3 and 4. It was just, you can't bump in the corner, and the 33 was pushing the pusher, so it was a double combination there, and it was in the left rear, so it hooked the 14 around, sent them hard into the outside wall in turn 4. We got a quick look here. There's the inside hook. Block happened, and then boom, Jamie Knopp, Daniel Simmons, Lane Allen, Sherwood Williford, those 4 guys go around heavy into the outside wall there. And just in front of them, the other 3 wrecked out of the top 4. Also by just, hard racing there, getting to the line. But one of them right there, the 22. Robert Malikian was involved in that one. 2 big wrecks here to finish this race off.
And hey, with that now, obviously the 42 able to come through with this clutch moment, this victory. And whoa, Chad Lang nearly thought he was going to save it. Jeff Chandler, though, came out on the long end there, coming to the start-finish line. James Wallace, TJ Bartel, they are eliminated. And James Wallace, who came into tonight's points battle, 2 points above TJ Bartel, neither of those guys are going to advance to the playoffs. And Kyle Milliken, man, what a strong run by that Martini Rossi Ford Mustang. I mean, that thing was just on rails tonight. We talk about how strong that team is at the super speedways. He said it when we talked to him after the first stage, that this team's super speedway program was very strong, and boy, oh boy, did it show tonight.
Yeah, 100% there. And as he is getting wound down from his burnouts and celebration, we're going to go to the unofficial results here, presented by Racing Eye Flag. And the winner, of course, locking himself into the playoffs at the very last moment, the 42, Kyle Milliken. Job well done. Jeff Chandler in the 31 sneaks in there to second place after those guys wrecked. So P2 for Chandler. Third place belongs to the 22 of Robert Malikian. Fourth place in the 4-car, Chad Lang. Fifth place, Stephen Hollingsworth. Sixth place, Ben Tracy. Seventh place, Brandon Elder. 8th, Brody Hanna. 9th, Wayne Grossi. It's tonight's 10th place finisher, the number 06, Daniel Simmons.
Top 20 tonight, you got Jamie Knopf in the 84 machine. 12th is Williford. 13th, Lane Allen, after having an incident there on the last lap with Sherwood. 14th, Josh Johnson. 15th, James Wallace, who will not advance after holding the last transfer spot coming into tonight. He will not make it. 16th, your pole sitter, Chris Beck. 17th, Ryan Hedrick. 18th, Mr. Colt Gum. 19th, Brian Dublay, who's had trouble all race long. And top 20 tonight, Fury Motorsports, Tony Solari.
21st, Alan Duranco. 22nd, James Torrey. 23rd, Alan Crowell. 24th, Ryan Chapman. 25th place, TJ Bartel. 26th, Colby Mice. And the 17 is Steve Loomis. Rounds out tonight's 27-car field for tonight's Daytona 200. Going to our only full-screen commercial break. Gather up our top 3 for tonight. Get their final thoughts on this race. And welcome back to Full Screen here as we are now starting the Martin Sports post-race show where we can gather up tonight's top three here for tonight's Daytona 200. And I think first we're going to bring in, well, our third place finisher this evening, the driver number 22 machine here, Robert Malikian. Robert, do you have a copy?
Yep, I got y'all.
Man, that race was pretty quiet for the most part, and then pit stops happened, and I guess a lot of people forgot how to tackle pit road, and we saw two different wrecks, cars scattered everywhere, packs across the entire field, and thankfully for you, the 42, the 4, and the 31 had a 4-car battle, and so kind of just walk us through that part of the procedure and how you would bring it home in P3.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle and I knew that if we were in front, it was going to be really hard to pass us. I was already in on points for the playoffs, and we needed to get Kyle a win to get in on the playoffs. So I had already decided I'm just going to push him all the way. A little bummed we couldn't finish 1-2, but that's fine. We still got the podium. Jeff and I talked. We're all good. There's no issues there. But yeah, Kyle built this setup, and it was a rocket ship. I mean, we had total control, even in the first stage.
And Robert, congratulations, obviously finishing P3. I knew you said you wanted to finish 1-2 tonight, but hey, man, finishing P3 is still good. And now with obviously the regular season and season B kind of being pushed to the side, now you can focus here on the playoffs. Unfortunately, didn't make the Martin Sports Truck Series playoffs, but you made the Mach-1 Performance Cup playoffs. So how is your mindset now? We've seen you week in and week out get better and better and better and better. How do you take that momentum that you've been building here these last few weeks and then utilize it towards your playoff run?
Yeah, we're just going to keep building fast cars, have a good mentality during the races, never give up during the races. Anything can happen. Now that we're in the playoffs, these points are going to matter so much more, which I'm really looking forward to. I haven't found victory lane yet, but I think with our consistency, I think we can go really deep into the playoffs. So I'm hoping to find ourselves at Phoenix in the top 4.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we'll see you there too. I know you just been getting progressively better and better and better as this season has progressed, and you're running great. So I don't see why you can't make it to the top 4 for sure. But good luck the rest of the way, man. Congratulations on third place and just a strong run all night long. Final thoughts before we let you go.
Just gonna thank our sponsors. We got Martin Sports, Gums Auto Center, Third Coast Graphics, Sim Ocean, Top Split, everyone supporting the team. All the guys on the team working together. It's been a lot of fun racing with them. I want to also wish my wife happy birthday. It was her birthday yesterday. So a little shout out to her. Awesome to get a birthday podium for her. So really excited about that. And just want to thank you guys for the broadcast and everyone watching.
Appreciate all the kind words there, man. And go and celebrate the rest of the night. And we'll catch you for the season opener next week.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That was number 22, Robert Malikian. See him there on your screen, Martin Sports, Ford Mustang. And now it's time to bring in second place finisher, the 31, Breezy Racewear, Jeff Chandler. How's it going, man?
Good. What's up? Can't believe I'm talking to you guys after a plate race.
Is that not your strong suit?
I don't know, especially when you don't have any teammates, you know. So I had about 30 teammates out there tonight. I was just latching on to whoever would help me go forward.
So how did the pit stops work out for you? Obviously well, but like if you had no friends out there and you're just trying to figure out who's going to work with you, who did you talk to? How did you decide who you're going to pit with and who's going to give you the best bang for your buck post pit stops?
I talked to nobody. I was just a bum. I just latched on to whoever was available and got out with me, and I just stuck with them. I didn't try to pass them. The only pass I tried to do was there on the last lap, and yeah, we got together, and I apologized. He said it was his fault. I said it was my fault. I said we were just racing for the same spot, and it was just a bad situation. I hate it. At least we didn't lose any spots over it.
Jeff, obviously, congratulations here on finishing second. And hey, you got that win, just a handful of weeks ago. And you were 6th coming into tonight's run, man. And ever since you came over here for the Martin Sports, but the Mach-1 Performance Cup Series, man, you've been consistently fast, even with no teammates, man. Just being that lone wolf, that lone soldier. That 31 Abruzzi race where Chevy Camaro has been up front every single dang week, man. What do you feel like your chances are here heading into the playoffs for these next 10 races?
Well, I'd have to look at the points. I'm not really sure where I am, but I know the tracks are really good tracks for me, so I'm kind of you know, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to at least win this the last 10, the series or whatever um what is it? Season C.
2023 C, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to try to win that. I think I might have been able to win it this season if I hadn't had some really off track, bad luck. I mean, gosh, 2 disconnects because of a thunderstorm and a power surge, and then the Richmond deal and stuff. I'm just, I'd like to finish strong. Would love to finish strong.
Well, hopefully for the next 10 weeks, that is all lined up and ready to go. Kick some butt here in the playoffs because you got one of the dominant cars. We've seen it all 2023B. So we know you can do it. Just need to get everything like luck on your side, and you'll make that strong charge for sure. But congratulations on P2 tonight. I'm glad you're able to, not wreck and then not, lose the spots in the top 4 for sure. But floor is yours. Final thoughts before we let you go.
Well, appreciate it. Obviously, want to thank Brooks and Will and the guys at Hyperforce Esports, Don Wheaton Chevrolet, Judd Danielson at Abruzzi and Racer Apparel, Doyle Lawrence at Raven Graphics, Kenny, the guys at Team Watson. Just love working with those guys. It's been a blast. Nerditudes, Jeremy, Jason, and Dustin, man, we just love you guys to death. Y'all do a fantastic job. Wouldn't want anybody else broadcasting these races for us. Brody and Richie and the guys at FTSR, they have a great league. I love racing here. Mach-1 Performance and Martin Sports, man, we appreciate all of them.
I appreciate you showing up each and every single week to show your support as well, man. But congratulations for the final time, and we will catch you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. That was driving number 31, Mr. Jeff Chandler. Now it's time for the first time in this season, and all year round, rather, driving number 42, Kyle Milliken, coming through clutch at the final race of the regular season, man. Congratulations on the W.
Thank you.
Man, that car 14th the first in 10 laps, and I was like, man, this car all of a sudden is going to be the one to beat. And then whatever lane you chose, that lane was 3 to 4 car lengths in front of the fastest guy on the other lane. So I was like, there's no way of stopping this 42, and you kind of led the rest of the way. Just awesome job out there. Great car, great setup. How much time did you prepare for this setup, knowing this was your last-ditched effort to get into the playoffs?
Just a single test. I had worked on some plate stuff earlier in the year, and there weren't many changes for this night race, but still had some speed in it.
Well, hey, Kyle, congratulations, man. I said earlier this season, I thought and felt like you were going to win Atlanta. Obviously, did not come out the way that we all hoped. But now that you got this win here tonight at Daytona, and you're going to be, I believe, the last seed, possibly, heading in to the first race of the playoffs, man. I want to say you're considered as like an underdog, man. So how do you feel like your chances are going on to these next 10 races and competing for a title?
Unfortunately, I can't make the full season with work, but beginning at around Pocono, we started doing in-house cup setups, and I think it's really starting to pay off over the last few weeks. The results are starting to show, and I think we'll keep pushing on and hopefully get some good results for the entire team throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, 100% there, man. Yeah, just good luck the rest of the way, and congratulations. That was an awesome performance from that 42 car, no doubt about it. The fastest car on the track that I was looking at. So, floor is yours. Final thoughts before we let you go this evening.
No, just shout out to Elevated and all the guys on the team. We're really dominant tonight, and wish some of them could have had a little bit better finish, but overall, it was a really good run, and hopefully we can keep the momentum going.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully you can do so and perform like you did tonight. Because if you did that, then yeah, we'll be seeing you deep into the playoffs for sure. But congrats one last time, and we will catch you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. That was number 42, Mr. Kyle Milliken. First win of the 2023 calendar year at the final moment that he possibly could. And of course, I'm always surprised by just one simple test. I'm prepared.
It is, but hey, he got it done, man, on the last thing. But hey, I think we got somebody else. I think we might be able to talk to here for just a split second, because not only did he was able to wrap up the season B title for the Martin Sports Truck Series, and Richie Coy was able to wrap up the season B championship here for the Martin Sports Truck Series. So why don't we go on and talk to him, man? I mean, he's going to be our season champion here. So let's move him in here to the broadcasting room. And hey, Richie, congratulations. I know you weren't here tonight, man. You got the season B title locked up.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were able to do that last week, but I had a family thing I needed to take care of tonight, so we couldn't make it. I got back in time, hopped on, and was able to watch. I figured I'd hop in here and see what's going on. So, what's up, nerds?
Richie's the only guy that cannot show up for a race and still get a post-race interview.
Facts.
Well, we work hard for what we do, and my team is always behind me, so it's not just me. I get to have all the fun.
There you go. Yeah, for sure. Well, what are your thoughts going? I know we have no things for you tonight, and how do you feel like going into the playoffs? How confident are you knowing that the guys in 2023B have really stepped up their game and are going to be really pushing you strong here for a championship contention?
Well, we got a lot of good fast guys here. So the playoffs they're kind of like super speedway racing, so they're kind of a crapshoot. If you have one bad race, it can really mess you up. But we're going in with a lot of playoff points, so I'm happy with that. Except for Darlington, I like pretty much every track in the playoffs, so I feel good about the schedule. Darlington's always is probably one of my worst tracks, which we're gonna get that over with really good. But Brody's in the playoffs with me. He does good at a lot of these tracks too, Texas and Kansas and Vegas. So it's going to be tough. It's a tough fight. You got Jeff. Kyle just won his way into the championship, so he's going to go in with a head of steam. So we got a lot of good guys, man. It's going to be a fight. Bring it.
I got a question, Richie. So Tony and I have a bet going on, whether Tony knows it or not, but we have a bet going on. What's the chances of you driving a green car at some point in time?
So I'm old school open wheel midget driver, and there's two things that we don't do. We don't eat peanuts at the racetrack, and we don't drive green cars. So I don't know. I actually, believe it or not, I was painting the ARCA car, and I was going through a specific scheme, and the background of that scheme was green, and I painted the car, and as soon as I looked at it in the viewer, I was like, no, I can't do it.
But what I'm hearing is there might be a chance, right? I'm not going to tell you who's betting on what side there, Tony or myself, but it's all kind of weighing on what you decide to go with.
Jim Carrey. All right, man. Well, got anything from Jason or?
Nah, man. Just congratulations, obviously, on wrapping up season B with the title, man. We're looking forward to seeing your playoff run and seeing you next week.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate it. Congrats to Kyle tonight. Fantastic job. Great job winning his way into the championships. It's really cool to see that. Congratulations to the other 14 drivers in the championships, and let's get it on. Let's do it.
Hey, whoa. Hey, you're forgetting to shout somebody out.
Who's that?
Uh-oh.
Oh, Tony's mom and dad.
Hey, there it is. All right.
Even if it's not on the podium, he had to do it, man.
Absolutely.
Tony couldn't do it, so he had to.
Absolutely. But thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Well, actually, we'll probably see you tomorrow night, but we'll see you on Wednesday.
We'll see you both, man. Have a good rest, and at least try to.
All right, guys.
That was driver number 19 of not tonight, but every other race. Richie Coy there popping in. Season regular champion for the Mach-1 Performance Cup Series, and I was glad that he was actually able to pop in. That was kind of a surprise visit.
Yeah, it's always nice to be able to talk to Richie, and it's unfortunate, the circumstances not allowing him to be here tonight. But he was here with us in spirits and had some fun with us over here in the post-race chat. Obviously, we got to talk to him, so it was only fitting that we got to talk to him, even though he wasn't, in the competition tonight. But hey, man, he's going to be a guy here, not only for Martin Sports, but also for Mach-1. He's going to be very, very strong, very, very hard. You talked about him. Having a lot of playoff points entering in these next 10 races. I look for Richie Coy to probably obviously be the favorite here. But I think if there's somebody who really can honestly give a run for his money, it really is Jeff Chandler, man. He brought up a couple good points in his post-race interview, saying, I mean, if it wasn't for the 2 power outages, I mean, I was in that race at Indianapolis. I remember racing and we're under caution. I'm minding my own business, and I just heard him. He was like, man, you're never going to believe this, but the damn power just flickered. And I was like, no way. Jeff Chandler just had another issue. So unfortunately, just the bad side of luck for Jeff Chandler. And obviously the Richmond issue being, out of his own, stable there, just, nothing he could do, created on his own. But I mean, he could be somebody who could give Richie Coy a run for his money here too, for this championship.
Yeah, 100% there. And I'm excited for this post-race or postseason here. It's just the guys have gotten so much better throughout the entire 2023 season. It's no longer just a 1 or 2 person race. It is going to be on edge every single stage up until you get to Phoenix at the very end. So looking forward to that for sure. And if you guys want to tune in, make sure to catch us 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday and Wednesday for the playoffs. But it's our time to close this broadcast out here. First and foremost, thank you, FTSR, for letting us do this for almost 2 years, basically. So if you guys want to join in, be a part of this action, FTSR.net, get registered today. Mach-1 Performance Cup Series sponsor. It's a race fabrication shop that's produced champions and winners of all sorts of racing divisions. Find them at facebook.com/Mach-1 Performance. Sim Racing Points, your all-inclusive league points management system that allows you to completely track your league stats and more. Well, one simple upload of the export. Find them at simracingpoints.com. Martin Sports, top quality apparel to make you look stylish and feel comfortable. See the whole apparel lineup at martinsports.gg. iRacing iFlag, get all of your notifications just a fraction of a second faster without ever leaving your focus from the racing action in front of you. And you can do so by visiting iRacingIFlag.com. Butt Kicker, the ultimate feel from the race car with the haptic response from the Butt Kicker. So visit their website at thebuttkicker.com to check out all their haptic products for your sim rig. Team Watson Racing setups, quality professionally built setups for all your asphalt oval needs. And you're going to find them at teamwatsonracing.com for pricing and packages. Dusty Pete's Gifts and Collectibles, hobby shop with a whole lot more. So if Dusty Pete's is the name or the game, then Dusty Pete's is the name. I got that all mixed up. Collecting is the game. Dusty Pete's is the name.
There you got it.
It's all messed up. You can find them at dustypete's.com. And lastly, Roasted Jim's Coffee, which we only saw them one time, which is kind of impressive for Daytona. But premium coffee beans roasted just for you. Start your day the right way with coffee from Roasted Jim's at roastedjims.com. All right, guys, we're going to see you tomorrow. Same time, as always, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. That's going to be for the RSR Next Gen Cup Series. And then back at it here, 9 p.m. Eastern once more on Wednesday for the Martin Sports Truck Series as they start their post-season schedule. All right, guys, have a good rest of your night. Stay safe. Get your nerd on.